Hello there. This is very ominous indeed. Last night we found out that the Nigel Farage bank cancellation was much worse than we thought. Well, that was a bit of a revelation, wasn't it? But there is a small but interesting twist to this, which I'll come on to in a moment. Last night, Nigel Farage told us that on top of potentially losing his ability to engage with the banking system and so become a non-person, over the course of the last few months, some of these ridiculous rules and closures have been extended to my immediate family, he said. And while I'm sad and annoyed about where I am, I'm absolutely incandescent that members of my family should be singled out and targeted just because I campaigned for and pushed a Brexit campaign for all of those years. Going after the family. How very North Korea. And it doesn't matter which side of the argument you're on, this should concern you and concern you greatly, because it could be you next. You may feel safe right now, but things do change. And Farage went on to say it's not just happening to him. He said even going back 10 years, UKIP candidates and MEPs, as well as prominent members of the Brexit Party, also had their bank accounts closed. And look at the problems Reform UK and Reclaim have had with their banks. Now, Nigel Farage also said that he's a politically exposed person, a PEP. Therefore, the banks are forced by the regulators to jump through more hoops to monitor his accounts for bribes and money laundering and the like. Now, I'm not saying that's what he's done, just that the regulators demand the banks spend time and money on doing it. And when looking at this, one assumes they check things like the Electoral Commission website and Companies House records. Now, I'm not sure this affects anything, but there is a mismatch between the two. Yes, the Electoral Commission records show Richard Tice is the Reform UK party leader. But Companies House records show that Nigel Farage has been the leader throughout since the 29th of March 2019, and that Richard Tice has been a director since the 8th of May 2019. And Richard Tice took over as leader on the 6th of March 2021, over 2 years ago, with Nigel now being the honorary president of the party, I believe. I think someone somewhere, either in Reform UK or in Companies House, might have got their admin a bit wrong. But as I said, I'm not sure what difference that makes to the banking situation. Now, Nigel Farage also pointed to Chris Bryant as a possible contributor to his banking woes, because back in March 2022, the Labour MP for Rhondda told the House of Commons, "I simply point out that Nigel Farage received from Russia today £548,573 in 2018 alone from the Russian state." A very precise figure, and a statement given to the House under the protection of parliamentary privilege, so he can't be chased through the courts by a member of the hoi polloi. Since then, Farage has tried various ways to get this retracted, but he has, he says, been met with a wall of silence and has no recourse through the law. But that goes for every single one of us. Now let's move on to the hypothetical, because what gets me about parliamentary privilege is that if any MP openly lies in the House and no other MP can be bothered to question or check the statement made, then that MP can get away with what is actually misleading the House and be protected by the rule of parliamentary privilege in the process. And if no one questions or challenges the assertion given, then we must assume the Speaker or one of his deputies, plus all the other MPs in the House, must have believed that statement. And the higher up the pecking order that MP is, like maybe being the chairman of an important committee, then it's more likely they will be believed. Where is the protection for a member of the public whose life has been damaged by an MP who either deliberately, recklessly or inadvertently misled the House? Further, it could also sway the vote on a matter being debated. We therefore need to tighten this parliamentary privilege thing up. Now, I do understand that sometimes an MP will feel forced to name someone or some company in the House and make his parliamentary colleagues aware of something they're doing or that they've done. But if that statement is wrong and it potentially misleads the House, then surely the House needs to know. Because everything said in the chamber is designed to sway the debate one way or another, and to get a prescribed vote one way or the other out of it. And misleading the House is considered to be an extremely heinous crime, isn't it? So when an MP makes such a claim, then the named person or company should have a route of redress, and more importantly, it would give the House the opportunity to tidy up the parliamentary record. That's called fairness and due diligence. There should be a procedure to protect members of the public from MPs making untrue statements about them in Parliament, whether in all innocence or not. And there is a way to do this and keep it all in Parliament. Make a new parliamentary rule for both the Commons and the Lords and the committees that where a person or company is named or is identifiable and an MP or Lord makes a statement about them, it gives that person or company the right to send a letter to the relevant Standards or Privileges Committee to have that statement challenged. The committee chairman then privately approaches the said MP or Lord and gives them a set period to provide the proof. When provided, the committee members can read the proof privately, together with anything the aggrieved member of the public provided, and then meet to decide whether or not to pursue it further, without discussing the proof or what it entails in public, in order to protect potentially sensitive documents. This keeps the whole procedure within each House, so they can continue to regulate their own affairs, which is one of the big requirements of parliamentary privilege. And I don't think such a procedure would cause loads of spurious claims either. Because if the MP could prove their claim, the person involved would have that claim reaffirmed by the committee. Chances would not come off well. But for those where there is insufficient proof or no proof, then they get much needed protection. In fact, it might get the politician concerned to come forward quickly to correct the record before it goes too far. And it would all come down to the level of proof the committee uses, a balance of probabilities or beyond a reasonable doubt. And MPs making false claims could be hauled in front of the committee to explain themselves, with the potential of losing that parliamentary privilege for that statement, so allowing them to be sued. Now, I'm sure there are a lot of holes in what I'm suggesting, but we do need something along these lines to protect we the people. Parliamentarians must treat that particular privilege with the consideration it deserves.